Dr. Ben Carson is a world-renowned pediatric neurosurgeon and the head of neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins.
He's a scientist, educator, history-making surgeon. At a recent visit to UNF, he discussed the future of medicine and also what it was like to have Cuba Gooding Jr. play him in a made-for-TV movie about his life.
Well, it's an interesting thing. You know, obviously I had some trepidation about having my life portrayed while I was still alive, and much less still practicing. But I thought they did a particularly good job, and you know, I had a chance to go on the set during the filming, and I was very impressed by the fact that, you know, the actors, the directors, producers, all felt that they were on a mission to really produce something that would inspire people. And once I sort of caught wind of how they were proceeding, I said, you know, this is going to be okay. They actually hired for a lot of the extras real doctors and real nurses and real hospital technicians. So that's why a lot of the operating room scenes and other things look so real, because those are real people playing those roles.
With that in mind, where do you see the future of medicine going?
Well, that's a good question, because right now we're in a pretty awful situation. You know, we spend more than twice as much on healthcare per capita as the next closest country in the world, and yet we rank number 42 in terms of mortality, infant mortality rates. We rate number 37 in terms of healthcare distribution. There's an incredible amount of inefficiency in our system, so I'm hoping that the future will include ways to rein out some of this inefficiency and use healthcare dollars to actually take care of people rather than for administrative cost and a bunch of other things that are feeding at the trough, which really have nothing to do with people's healthcare, and that we can move toward preventive healthcare. That's where we really will begin to save a lot of money and begin to have a healthier society. You know, what's one of the plagues in our society right now is obesity. You know, and we have got to begin to deal with this in a serious way. We've got to return in our schools to serious commitment to physical education. You know, there used to be something called phys ed. I don't think a lot of schools even have that anymore. That was important. That kept people from getting all this pudge around them, and that's happening now. And then they sit around, they play computer games. This has great implications in terms of the huge amount of diabetes, type 2 diabetes that is now in our society that didn't used to be there, and many other subsequent problems. So I'm just hoping that we can start bringing, you know, some rationality to this. Stop talking about universal health care, because it doesn't do any good to put everybody into a broken system, but rather to spend some time fixing the system and then getting everybody into it.
Dr. Carson, you've talked a little bit about where you see the future of medicine going. President Obama himself has mentioned that he would like to see healthcare reformed. Could you give him some advice? If you, let's say you were speaking to him tonight, what would you tell him?
Well, I would say, first of all, make sure that when you're looking to reform the system, that you get people who actually know the system. Don't get bureaucrats and philosophers, but get people who've been spending their whole life working in the system and understand how it works. And if you do that, you're going to be much further ahead of the game than the last time somebody tried to reform our system.
Dr. Carson also said the U.S. must begin to place greater importance on education if it wants to maintain its position as a world leader.